They're not going to care if you're left or right. They're only going to care if you're powerful or not powerful. This is exactly what the right wing was warning about, but it's coming from the back for you guys, and you're being blinded to it.
Well,
look around, turn around.
Cenk, I didn't hear you.
If Biden had done the same exact thing, Tommy, oh my God, the right would be enraged.
Here's my question.
Johan after paragraph, word same rock car, X smooth rewrite high. Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks appeared on a MAGA-focused show hosted by Tomi Lahren to debate what is really happening inside Donald Trump's increasingly authoritarian America. In this video, we want to watch key moments from that debate, while I also share my own thoughts, so we can break it all down together. Agar cheho to main isko thoda, or engaging or viewer-friendly bibana, dune, without changing words, calm meaning. Chadho kia main reversion bibana dune?
I personally think President Trump has been a pretty good messenger through all of this. I think that he's maintained his cool. I think him reaching out to the governor and the mayor and having productive conversations. I think him saying, all right, things are tense. I'm going to pull Bovino and I'm going to pull back some of the agents and Border Patrol out. I'm going to send Tom Homan in. I think that was very responsible. I like the way that he's handling this, and I want to get your perspective on that as well. But what do you make of this approach of saying, all right, we will bring the agents, we will decrease the number of agents we have in the street, but you guys got to do a couple things. You got to allow us access to your jails. If we've got an illegal alien that's committed a crime, let us get in there without going in the streets and let us take that person and detain them and then eventually deport them. I think that cooperation is needed, and I think it would save people a lot of stress and trauma. That's one. And two, saying, hey, if we are conducting law enforcement operations with our federal agents, provide us a perimeter so that we're able to do that and allow local law enforcement to provide us some protection so that we can carry out these arrests and these, a lot of these people, all these people to my knowledge, especially in Minneapolis, the judge has said this person's deportable. This is a deportable person. So would you be okay from your perspective of having more cooperation to allow immigration and immigration enforcement to take place in a more civilized fashion?
Yeah, so two different issues there. There's Trump, and then there's the, what should be the protocol. So on Trump, I've got a silver lining in a minute, but overall, no, this has been a disaster. He did it in his first term. He's doing it way more aggressively in his second term. He is testing the limits of his power. How much can I get away with? How much authoritarian control can I do? How, masked can they be? There's no need in America. We don't have masked officers. That's third world crap. We don't have that. There's a reason why we don't have that, because American citizens have rights. And once you put people in masks and no badges, no identification, by the way, it's happening across the country. Now guys are pretending to be ICE, pulling up in a van and abducting women. And women don't know, am I resisting law enforcement? Am I about to be killed? Or is this not law enforcement and I'm about to be sexually assaulted? And that is literally happening across the country. So I think that all of this has had nothing to do with immigration. And I know that that's the ostensible reason. And I know that's why the Republican voters, the Trump voters wanted it. They have two different agendas, the voters and Trump. Trump and Stephen Miller don't really care too much about that. What they care about is how much power can we get in the executive? And I don't know why they want to abuse that power, but Trump has, and certainly Stephen Miller does, has enormous authoritarian tendencies. This is the tyrannical government that the right wing has actually been warning us about for a long, long time, where they test and test and test.
I just want to ask you this question. What part about enforcing federal immigration law, in your mind, is a symbol of tyranny? Because those are the laws that are on the books. They're not doing anything. If you're in this country illegally, you are deportable. I don't understand what's like, oh, we're going to, and a lot of these people, by the way, the vast majority are people who have come to this country illegally, committed further crimes. So I don't understand what you're saying about this whole thing of like, it's tyranny to enforce immigration law.
So, yeah, look, Tommy, there's a bunch of things in there. Number one, the one thing that's not true is the overwhelming majority of like the millions of undocumented immigrants in the country, they are not criminals. They're the criminals no one disagrees with. Go get the criminals, okay? But the overwhelming majority of the mass deportation is for non-criminals, and so that's point one. Number two is, so if it was easy and you could just go pick up people and deport them, etc., then we get into a debate about should we do this, etc. But the American people have said clearly, we don't want the mass deportations. Yes, you can say, hey, they did something wrong. You could also say, hey, there's a guy who's been driving recklessly and we're worried about him. And then what kind of action should we take? These are all legitimate debates to have. A guy who's jaywalking, do we do a civil penalty, a criminal penalty? How harsh should we be with people who are violating the law in certain ways? And the American people have an opinion on that case by case. In this case, they're saying to their own government, Please do not do this. And why are they saying that? It's not because, guys, I know that for right-wing voters, you genuinely care about undocumented immigrants not being here. I understand that it's earnest, it's genuine, right? But for a lot of other Americans, it's also genuine that they're worried that when you have masked gunmen in the streets from the government, that is the beginning of government tyranny.
And when Trump says,
hold on, let me answer this. When Trump says, oh, there's been 18 shootings, but we're not going to hold them accountable, they're going to be above the law. No, that's tyranny. That's totally unacceptable. The masks are unacceptable. The non-badges are unacceptable. And Tommy, why are they doing it? They're not doing their purposes, the administration. They are trying to see how much can we control the American people. They don't care about left or right. When the police state comes and Palantir's institutes a surveillance state here in America, they're not going to care if you're left or right. They're only going to care if you're powerful or not powerful. This is exactly what the right wing was warning about, but it's coming from the back for you guys, and you're being blinded to it.
Well,
turn around.
Cenk,
If Biden had done the same exact thing, Tommy, oh my God, the right would be enraged.
Here's my question. Were you against show me your vaccination card? Were you against that? Were you against arresting toddlers for not wearing masks on planes? Because when I hear the left talk about the tyranny of immigration enforcement, I'm like, then you better all have been very consistent when they were telling you were safer at home, you had to shut down your business, you had to stay 6 feet apart, you could only go to work if you were essential, you could only eat inside if you had a vaccination and a booster.
Bilkul. Word same rock car, apka paragraph smooth, or readable rewrite yiraha. Enjoyed this video? Please like and subscribe for more. Tomi Lahren immediately falls back on the same tired move that nearly every MAGA pundit and right-wing voice online relies on. And it is whataboutism, which drives me absolutely crazy because instead of addressing the issue at hand, they pivot to something completely unrelated that simply is not comparable. These two situations are nowhere near the same. And while Cenk does not fully call it out here, I really wish he had plainly said that one thing has nothing to do with the other, because they keep dragging up events from 4 or 5 years ago as if they are some kind of gotcha, when what actually happened back then was a group of people choosing extreme selfishness by refusing to do even the bare minimum to protect others, whether that meant wearing a mask, keeping some distance, or getting vaccinated, and turning it into a dramatic cry of my rights, as if being asked to wear a mask at a Cracker Barrel was tyranny, even though there were no cases of federal, state, or local agents shooting people for not masking up or throwing anyone into a gulag for ignoring social distancing or refusing a vaccine, which makes this comparison completely unhinged. What we are seeing now with IC is real authoritarian behavior, with videos surfacing day after day of people being roughed up, cars being rammed, people being shot, and even dying. None of that was happening during COVID, because while people tragically died from the virus itself, and many of those deaths could have been prevented if people had shown basic decency, the government still did not disappear them, detain them for months, or ship them off to other countries. This is why Tomi Lahren's comparison here with Cenk Uygur is not just wrong, but exhausting and emblematic of a pattern they all repeat endlessly, to the point where it feels like you could say the sun is shining and a MAGA voice would respond by asking what about yesterday when it rained. Let me know if you are just as tired of this constant whataboutism as I am. And now, let us continue and see what else Cenk had to say.
I don't know what your position was on that, but you like consistency. What was your take on that shit? Because that to me was the most tyrannical thing I've seen from our American government, certainly in my life.
Yeah. So as usual on the Young Turks, we had nuance. So kids were very unlikely to be affected by COVID. So I thought different rules should apply for kids. I thought it's obviously coming from the Wuhan lab. You're telling me that 5 yards away from the Wuhan virology lab, a virus breaks out and it didn't come from the lab? That would be the most remarkable coincidence in world history, right? So we didn't blindly trust the government. On the other hand, yes, we thought that is a disease that spreads. So if you go out without masks, it can spread it to other people. So you should be enormously careful about that. Whether you should be arrested over that is a different question. So again, the same thing with the protests here. Be consistent. I think you should protest, but be careful. Don't go near law enforcement because we don't want other people and you getting hurt. So consistent on both of those. So, and guys, if you, and then flip it around. If you thought, oh my God, having to wear a mask when there's a massive virus out there, by the way, that killed 1 million Americans, that's too much tyranny. But mass thugs in the street killing American citizens who are above the law is not tyranny. That's crazy to me,
Well,
at least.
here's the deal. I don't believe that the illegal aliens being in this country, I don't believe that they have the same protections as a healthy American not having to wear a mask as they go about their daily life. Like, I think those are different.
All right, I'm going to pause here, because if they were truly only targeting serious criminals and not people who have lived here for 20 years, overstayed a visa, or crossed the border long ago, there would be far less outrage, as Cenk pointed out. But instead, we are now hearing painful stories about kids who grew up believing they were American citizens, only to discover when applying for college that they are undocumented because their parents never told them. Something teachers across Los Angeles and other parts of California say happens all the time. When you imagine growing up thinking you belong here only to have that identity ripped away, it becomes even more disturbing, especially when in the process of going after all immigrants, ICE has now shot multiple people in just the last few weeks, including fatal shootings in Minneapolis that have sparked national outrage and protests after a U.S. citizen was killed by an ICE agent during a federal immigration operation, which again makes this completely incomparable to COVID-19, when no one was shot for refusing to wear a mask and no one was punished for ignoring distancing rules, meaning these are not even close to the same level of tyranny or authoritarianism, despite what right-wing voices like Tomi Lahren want to claim. In my view, this is one of the clearest and dumbest examples of whataboutism. So let me know what you think, whether you agree with Tomi Lahren's framing or with Cenk's warning that this is real authoritarianism with no clear end, and that this January already feels darker and more alarming than anything we have seen under Trump or arguably any president in our lifetime. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.